Hi guys.
Hi everyone.
Who should start?
Ladies first.
Okay, good. So I see that the day is coming to an end, but hopefully we will not be boring with this, I would call it fireside chat, and exchanging the experiences between two WASPs, one me in Croatian and European regulatory environment, and Alexis in Serbia non-E regulation environment. So
EU candidate.
EU candidate, of course.
Permanent EU candidate.
And you were before the EU in the regulation point of view. So can you start first, maybe? Mika is already boring, probably.
Yes, maybe I should give a quick overview what was happening prior to regulation. So we started operating in 2012. Obviously, there was no regulation whatsoever anywhere in the world back then, and Serbia was not exception. As far as I can remember, the first mention of crypto by any regulator or any institution in Serbia was in October 2014, when National Bank said that crypto is not real money, it's not backed by anyone, no one guarantees its value and stuff like that. What other things you would expect for them? It was totally Wild West, but it was fun. It was very interesting because there was also more freedom and more room for creativity. And we were first, let's say, hit by regulation in 2018 when we became the AML regulation was forced on us, which was, I mean, that was a trend back then everywhere in the world, because in 2017 there were a lot of ICOs and a lot of scams, and the regulators they freaked out everywhere, and then they started.
FATF got involved with their recommendations, and the fifth AML directive just transposed throughout the Europe and even broader.
Yeah, so that's when it started for us, and that's when we started doing KYC and AML on a very primitive level, to be honest, compared with what we're doing today. And then the law was introduced here in late 2020. That was when the law passed, the bill passed the National Assembly, and then in 2021 it was really put into place. We went through a process of acquiring the license, which took about a year and a half. And here we are now. I mean, we were among the first European countries to have crypto regulation, which is very unusual because, for example, we were 15 years late to allow PayPal to operate in Serbia. So we are not really innovators when it comes to, or early adopters when it comes to fintech and innovations in that field. So it was more, let's say, more logical to expect otherwise. So to be one of the last European countries to have a regulation, but we were among the first. There are some benefits to that. There are also some problems, because when you're among the first, you cannot learn from the mistakes of others. You have to make those mistakes, and there were a few mistakes that were made and that we still suffer from. But maybe before I continue with some details, maybe you should share your story and how the regulation evolved in Croatia. What were the first contacts you had with regulators, and how it became complicated over time?
Well, it became complicated with the AML, as you already said yourself. As far as Croatia is concerned, we as a part of the European Union were obliged to transpose the fifth AML directive to our local legislation, but we were a bit late with that. So we started with the amendments of our National Anti-Money Laundering Act with the beginning of the 2020. And that was the first time the CASPs, crypto asset service provider, and crypto in general was mentioned in any regulation in Croatia. only two business operations were enacted, and that was exchange of crypto to fiat and wallet service. So we didn't even have crypto to crypto. There was no registration process. Our regulator was and still is Croatia's Financial Services Supervisory Agency, which is HANFA. And back then, there was no active supervisory activities from our regulator. The law didn't prescribe any specific obligations in relation to our business or in CASPs in general. We were just like all others, like banks, exchange offices. We had all the same obligations. And that changed with the beginning of the last year, 2023, enormously. In aspect that we now amended our AML Act in a way that we enacted a full registration process for CASPs before HANFA, but also only in the aspect of the anti-money laundering. So we do not have like a registration before a national bank or licensing operation process. We only have a registration, during which process the regulator asserts whether you fulfill all the obligations prescribed by the AML Act, meaning that you have all internal documents, procedures, that you have full KYC process in place, that you use proper softwares, etc., due diligence obligations, and so on. But with that act, we took a step towards MICA in a way that we initiated the procedure of assessing the fit and proper for the physical persons in a VESP, you know, for management board, beneficial owners. They need to prove that they are not convicted for all those crimes stated in the AML Act, which is a step forward beyond only the anti-money laundering regulations. Also, we have to have a full organizational structure, education of our employees, business operation plans, etc. So now it is a bit complicated. It's a complex procedure, but I get a feeling that's not so complicated like here in Serbia. It's a bit easier probably.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I don't know the details of how you operate, but it wouldn't surprise me because it's really complicated. So I cannot imagine it being much more complicated. Maybe if you agree, maybe just to give a kind of overview what changed with the regulation. I can give you my thoughts on that and my experience. The first thing that hit us, as I said, was AML regulation back in 2018, and to be honest, it only had negative effects on our business because we were all of a sudden we were forced to get through KYC, which we were not obliged to do before that, and it obviously turned some number of customers away because they wanted to stay anonymous. And the other problem was that in Serbia, it is still not possible to use providers such as OnFido or some sub for clients onboarding. We can do video identification, but it means that some person has to do a video call, so you cannot do that automatically. But we were allowed to do that only last year. From 2018 to 2023, we were actually obliged to do KYC in customers' physical presence, which is really tricky for online business. So it was really bad for our business. So 2017 was obviously a great year for anyone in crypto, and then in 2018 we had a combination of AML regulation kicking in and bear market. So it was a really bad year. Then in 2021, when we got the crypto regulation, there are some positive and some negative effects. Positive effects are mostly in working with companies, because we saw a big increase in that type of clients. So a lot more companies
Institutional investors.
Institutional
No?
investors, yes, because the regulatory clarity was what encouraged them to get into the space. We had some companies asking about investing in crypto before we had regulation, but it almost always ended with their accountant saying, please don't do that, I don't know what to do with that. So once we had regulation, that was the positive effect of the regulation. Negative effect, obviously, more paperwork, more expenses on that end, and also one interesting thing is that a certain number of customers was driven away from our platform when regulation kicked in because of taxes. It's not that we didn't have taxes, crypto taxes, before regulation came, and we even had worse tax treatment, but it wasn't being applied because most of the people in Serbia actually thought that selling crypto was not a taxable event before we had the law, but it actually was taxable as other income, which is worse than it is today. But today they have a perception that okay, now it's regulated, so now we have to pay taxes, so we better trade on Binance because what we do on Binance is invisible to our tax authorities, and what we do on ECD obviously is more visible. So we lost some number of customers because of that. And generally it slowed down innovation process for us very much, because for every new feature that we introduce, we have to get regulatory approval, which usually takes months. So it's hard to plan development. It's hard to plan adding new features or new services. So that.
Yes, much complicated than in Croatia, as I said.
Well, once you get the regulation, maybe it's going to be harder for you too.
For now it's okay. When Mika will kick in full, we will see what will happen. But yeah, for example, it took us 3.5 months to get registered, and you took 1.5 years, so it's a lot quicker. Well, regarding to KYC tools, as you mentioned, for example, we used them back from 2020 because, we also didn't have a regulatory framework that is okay with those kind of softwares and KYC procedures. It was a bit, I don't know, undefined, but our regulator is very open. I cannot say anything bad, really. And once you approach them and you get to know them with your business and how you do your business, and that you do your business diligently, and that you really abide by all the AML rules, they're like, okay, it's fine. You can do that. You can use it as long as you abide by the law. So in that terms, we were okay. Now we have a new rule book on the remote onboarding, so I can say that we are now fully compliant with this new rule book before MICA, so that's okay. Regarding the customers and the clients, most of our clients are physical persons rather than legal persons. Because of the fact that which you mentioned, that legal persons are like, oh no, we do not know what to do with this as assets. How do we book them? How do we manage them? We don't know how to do that. But there are some investors and institutional investors, and the interest is getting bigger. But for example, we didn't experience any loss of clients due to the regulation. It was more of an increase in because of the, I would say, better clarity, better regulatory clarity than before, and the openness of the regulator, who is always warning the consumers and protects the consumers, but also now we are publicly registered, and you can see everywhere that we pass the procedure and that people can trust our services.
Yeah, we generally don't like paying taxes here too much, and
nobody likes paying taxes.
I know, but we have a history of people getting away with avoiding taxes. So there
I
is
know.
a perception that you can get away with it here if you are just intelligent enough. So just you pretend that you're not doing anything, and then if they catch you, great. I mean, not great, but you'll probably be forgiven some part of the tax that you owe, and if you don't get caught, even better.
Yeah,
So
but
I think I don't know what's your perception, but I think that the unregulated part of the market in Serbia is way bigger than the regulated one. I mean, people exchanging it for cash, and what is it like in Croatia?
probably. I don't know. I'm not sure because I don't want to know. Honestly, I don't want to have any connection with that. But yes, it definitely exists. I'm sure it exists, and it takes a huge part of our cake, unfortunately, and that's not good. But it's not our job to deal with that. The state and the regulators should deal with that. Yeah, but I'm not sure they are even aware of the amount of businesses that are working without the regulations and the approval of the regulator.
Yes, I think that's a global problem that regulators spend too much time on regulated entities and too little resources on unregulated markets. So we have a huge expenses on that end, while some are able to operate almost without expenses and
Yeah,
huge profit
sure.
margins. But it's what you have to live with.
It's what it is, and that's the consequence of regulation. And if you want to play by the rules, then you suffer from the rules, I would say.
Yes. As someone who is working in compliance, what do you generally think about, especially AML rules regarding crypto and financial industry in generally? How effective they are? How are they too harsh? Are they too light? Maybe and.
Well, regarding the effectiveness of the measures, they can be effective, of course, and they are effective if you implement them right and you are duly diligent about those measures. I've witnessed a lot of cases in which we managed to stop the transactions and clients from illicit actions, and we cooperate successfully with the police authorities and with our tax administration and with our anti-money laundering office, and we managed to stop some illicit actions, whether it is money laundering and especially frauds. We have like very good software and very good detection procedures, you know yourself. Blockchain analytics tools which enable us to see whether really there is some illicit actions, whether this client will be frauded, and we are very successful in stopping that. But regarding the scope of the measures, I don't think it is necessary that the scope is so big for the for the purpose intended to be.
That's also my opinion, and I like to compare it with let's say you ran a gas station, and then someone's come and wants to buy some gasoline, obviously, and then you first you assess whether he's likely to drive a little bit too fast. You do like a risk assessment, and if he drives BMW, he's probably like 90% chance of speeding. That's my experience, at least. I mean, I'm not as a driver of BMW, but as someone who is actively.
It's a general perception
Yes,
of
yes.
the drivers here in the Balkans.
Yeah, so for example, if you're a BMW driver, you are automatically in a high risk category, and then you have to give a statement that you will not be speeding. Or if you want to buy a beer from a gas station shop, then maybe they should report you to the police, and then police waits you at a toll, and you do alco test, and I mean that's how financial industry works. It sounds absurd when you give that kind of example, but I don't see a difference because we are doing too much of
Assuming.
assuming. Yes, too
Yeah.
much of assuming, and it's like in law you have that presumption of innocence. So you are innocent until proven otherwise, and in financial industry you are basically guilty until you prove otherwise. So you first have to prove that you're not guilty, and then you're able to do transactions. So it's not a crypto problem. I mean, it's a problem with the whole financial industry. And if there wasn't a problem, then maybe crypto wouldn't even be invented and necessary. But I'm really frustrated with how it is evolving, because it's only getting more and more complicated.
Yes.
I mean, I think we are close to that scenario from the movie Minority Report, when people will be, prosecuted because we think they're about to commit a crime. And I mean,
don't want to even think about that. But yes, I totally agree. It's getting much bigger and bigger without any logical sense. And wanted outcome is to prevent, but also is to criminal proceedings are also very important here. If you are preventing, then you are preventing in order to prevent a crime. But what happens in Croatia, for example, there are no criminal proceedings against any suspects who are probably committed money laundering and terrorist financing crimes. So I do everything on my side, and where's the other side?
Yeah, exactly. And money laundering is not the first step in some kind of criminal activity. You first have to earn some money doing something illegal, and then you have to launder it. So I think more effort should be done to prevent that first step than to impose a lot of obligations on companies like us to do the work that's maybe better suited for police or some other institution.
Yes, unfortunately, that's the problem with the new industry that nobody understands, I would say, and it's a pretty much problem of the fear of the industry and the fear of the unknown and the total lack of knowing of the technology and how it works, because as we all know, crypto and blockchains are transparent. Okay, they are pseudo-anonymous and you don't know who is behind that wallet, but it's possible to find out a lot of information and to collect a lot of information with blockchain analytics and to see and to have conclusions regarding the suspect's behavior or your client's actions and transactions.
Yeah. Okay, so already 25 minutes, which is not bad since we haven't prepared for this at all.
That's fine.
Maybe we should now just leave some time for questions if there are any. Yeah.
Share one. So do we have any questions for our panelists? I guess
we were totally clear.
Yes. So you have time for final remarks if you have any.
So, you have a question. Yeah. So what is a good state that you would say, I mean, a good country that is setting a good example in this, and what is needed for us in Croatia or in Serbia to get to that point?
It's hard for me to say. I would probably say Switzerland. Maybe Switzerland was like one of the pioneers in the regarding the openness of the regulator to the technology and the technology neutral, open-minded. Yeah, but since we are in Europe and MiCA will be in force soon, we will all be in the same situation. There will no longer be no better jurisdiction in Europe. I'm just saying regarding Europe. Outside, I'm really not so familiar.
Well, I really haven't spent a lot of time examining other jurisdictions because we have been always focused on Serbian markets, so I don't know how it is in the other markets. I mean, MiCA is something that I think we will also have to adjust to, although we are already adjusted to a higher degree, and in some aspects we are even more conservative than MiCA. So hopefully we'll get yes, we get to the MiCA level. How is it pronounced? Some say MiCA, some say MiCA. MiCA. I have to say someone that only people from this region will understand. MiCA je neko majka, neko maćeha. Sorry for those who don't speak Serbian or Croatian.
Anyone
Any
else?
other questions?
Okay.
Maybe some final remarks. You want to start first, or?
What should I say? It's getting harder and harder to operate a fully regulated vast business, but I'm a strong believer that the regulation will bring the mass adoption. The technology is here. The technology will not stop, and our business will be evolved and will evolve more. Of course, we have to be aware of the burden of the regulation. It is coming each day at a time, more and more, but it is what it is. We have to handle that and look forward.
Yes, my hope is that yes, regulation is definitely bringing some legitimacy to the space, and that is good for mass adoption. And I hope, maybe it's too idealistic, but I hope that once we get to the mass adoption, then we have more leverage with regulators, because it's not the same if you have like 2 or 3% of the people having crypto versus 50% of people having crypto, and then you can negotiate on equal terms. Now we are not powerful enough to get the regulation that we want. We just have to abide by what they tell us and try to survive. Those for you who are in DeFi, enjoy while you can.
Enjoy.